Bum, ba-da-dum, bum. So I've hit the go live button and now I am doing all my arranging because that is very important and also takes forever. Oh, look, again, I'm getting a commercial for my own damn stream. That's fun. Pop out chat down here. Excellent. I got Moobot, and now I'm gonna go cross post everywhere. Bum 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 bum. Gotta wait for things to load because apparently my internet's being a little bit dumb today. Okay, so we are tweeting, and I also need to open Discord because I always forget to do that right away because it takes a little bit longer for that to load than everything else. Oh no, my windows are all crazy. Pen Addict Slack. This is fun. It's very interesting to me that I haven't registered any viewers yet. What are you trying to tell me, Twitch Prime? I really don't give two shits. Wow, things are loading really slowly today. Looks like my video is good though, so that's at least nice. Yeah, so okay, I've got posted in the Pen Addict Slack. If you hear a bird in the background, that is Aqua. I wanted her to join me today, but she insisted that she was going to spend the time trying her darndest to chew through the mouse wire, which we can't have that. Even though I gave her other things to chew, she was like, nah, mouse wire. Hello, Emil. Huh, it's funny, I'm not getting any sort of read from my little counter here that anyone is actually watching this, which is fun. Normally that gives me something. Oh, there we go. I needed to hit a button. Cool. Okay. Yeah, no, normally this little counter thing is fairly accurate and responds fairly quickly, but today it's just being a little fun. So, cool. What I'm gonna do then is one I want to do. I don't know if I post that little message, that's not gonna do anything. Yeah. So I went to the. Hi, Raoul. So, yeah. Aqua will not be joining us despite the fact that she's very unhappy she's in her cage. Because I had her out, and she insisted on going straight for the mouse cord. Even though I gave her other stuff to chew, she insists that it must die, which that's not good. So, Aqua will not be joining us. She's going to be unhappy in the other room. Because she can't not chew mouse cords. I got tea, and I got a whole bunch of stuffs. Yeah, no, she's just like, I don't know, for some reason, that one must die. Not quite sure why, but it must. Oh, that's way too large. That's uncomfortable. That's much better. Okay, my head is giant, but that way I'm not distracted. I had multiple windows open, which is what I do for ink reviews because I'm copying something down, but I was distracted and reading things. So anyway, SF Pen Show was a ton of fun. I don't know if it was worth flying across the country for, just because flying across the country is a pain in the ass. Flying, for those of you who are unfamiliar with U.S. geography, it is just as far to fly from the East Coast to the West Coast, which is what I was doing, as it would be for me to fly from the East Coast to Europe. It's literally the same flight time. So that would be like any of you guys flying across the Atlantic to go to DC or something. So it's a big time investment. I basically spent all day Thursday and Monday traveling, versus other shows like Baltimore. It's about 6 hours, depending if you have connections, it'll go up to 8 hours. Yeah. And then you might like get some favorability to you, but yeah, no, if I flew direct, it would be 6 hours, but, in terms of, I was flying, one of the domestic airlines that is not a hub here. And so I did have to connect. And so it was about 8 hours when including the connections and stuff like that. Though I actually did like that, because that meant that, I got a little breakup. I it was 4 hours and 2 hours for me, because I didn't do this crazy across the country thing. I just kind of went straight, even though there's a connection. So that got me a chance to get off the plane and walk around a little bit, instead of being stuck on a plane for 6 hours. But yeah, it's a long haul. It was made worse by on Thursday, I overslept, and got to the airport just too late to make my flight. So I had a very helpful American Airlines flight agent help me out and get me rebooked. And at that point I was like, okay, anything that happens at this point, it's my own damn fault, because I'm the one who overslept. So instead of going like through the airport I was supposed to go through, I was supposed to go through Phoenix, but instead I went through Charlotte. Getting to Charlotte was fine. But then that day on Thursday, if you're not aware, like the entire West Coast is on fire right now in the United States, and especially around the San Francisco area, it's like northern fires. And so it was a really bad smoke day on Thursday, which caused like zero visibility. And so it caused an air traffic control nightmare, because they had to slow down. They couldn't have as many planes going at once, because the visibility wasn't there. And I think it was probably also interfering with radar. And so just everything got delayed and pushed back, because they just couldn't have that many planes in the air with those conditions. So my flight was delayed about 2.5 hours. Actually probably 3 hours now that I think about it. Because we did sit on the tarmac. It was delayed technically 2 hours, and then we sat on the tarmac for about an hour, just waiting for the go-ahead from air traffic control. It was so bad that we actually, at one point, we were delayed, but they had loaded us up, and we're waiting, like technically we're delayed, but we're seeing if we can take off early. But then they had to deplane us, because our plane's jet fuel was apparently leaking into the AC system. Find us a new plane, which it didn't actually take that long. And even though we had to deplane, go to a new plane, get on the new plane, that was still, like, it wouldn't have mattered. We would still have been delayed that long, because just of how much the smoke was messing up things. So yeah, I was supposed to, combined with me oversleeping and missing my original flights and all those delays, I was originally supposed to get into San Francisco around 4 p.m. local time on Thursday. I got there around 9:30 is when I landed. And then this was not helped by the hotel shuttle, because in theory there was a hotel shuttle between San Francisco airport and the hotel. I called it at 9:30. Was told it would get there probably around 10. 10 came and went. 10:20. At 10:30, so an hour later, Franz messaged me on Slack and was like, hey, are you still at the airport? And I was like, yes. I technically called the shuttle. He was like, oh, you want to ride? I'm basically driving past there towards the hotel to drop off PIF stuff. And I was like, please rescue me. Of course, 10 minutes into the car ride with Franz, the hotel shuttle called me being like, where are you? And I was like, it's been over an hour, dude. Like, it's too late. And then Franz had the decency to take me to In-N-Out on the way to the hotel, because at that point I hadn't eaten in about 11 hours, just due to all the flight delays and stuff. Yeah, so I didn't get to the hotel until like 11 p.m. on Thursday, when I was originally probably going to get there around 5 p.m. So my plans on Thursday were originally to like hit up the grocery store and have food and everything, but that just didn't happen. So food was a little bit like scroungy for the weekend, but it worked out. The hotel food wasn't bad. It was expensive, but I learned that San Francisco is just expensive all around. But yeah, so Thursday I got to the hotel, and then instead of just going up to the room and sleeping like a logical person, I just went straight to the bar, plopped myself down. I found Ralph, because Ralph was already there, and it's easy to find Ralph because Ralph is loud. And just like literally sat there at the bar with my suitcases and stuff for a couple hours. That was fun. And then that was actually the first time I had seen Ralph since Baltimore. And in Baltimore, he had his Trilogy nibs and he had some prototype Flex nibs. But he didn't... Oh, yeah, well, it's easier to find Ralph in a bar by loudness rather than cover it in ink, just due to volumes of people. Because the ink, yes, it's obvious, but it's on his hands, so that's not obvious from around the room. But yeah, so yeah, in Baltimore he had the Trilogies and some prototype Flex nibs, and then he's come out with all sorts of crazy shit since. So I was just like, plop down, hi Ralph, hug, etc. And then I started, playing with Ralph's nibs, as you do. And also, I made Ralph some pen cases. Where's my stack? So, pen cases similar to this, but I made it extra, extra, extra long to fit his, like, stupid long testing pins. And then he also jokingly on Slack requested a granola bar slot, so I'm like, that only requires me to just make one of these slots a little bit wider. And so I did, and he was like, oh my god. He also has a penchant for tiny pens like I do. Where's an example? So when I say tiny pens, I mean like tiny pen. And so I also made him a little tiny pen case, so because those things get lost real easily. But yeah, then we sat at the bar Thursday night for a good long while. Brian Goulet wandered over and joined us. I didn't realize Brian Goulet was going to be at this show. But I was like, oh cool, Brian Goulet, because apparently Brian basically, I think, came to meet Ralph or talk with Ralph more and to just check out SF in general because it's had so much hype around it. Yeah, and so Brian Goulet sat there and was just like, what are these nibs? I can't even, because I think Ralph was just a little too busy in DC. Ralph wants to make number 5 nibs. Like he wants to, but right now he's just trying to keep up demand with number 6 nibs. Because he has made a couple number 5 flex nibs in the past, but apparently it's a lot easier to do flex on number 5 nibs. And the snapback is really good. I messed with one of them that he did in Baltimore, and it was really nice. But yeah, he's just trying to keep up with demand for the number 6s, because number 5s don't have the demand. Much more pens accept number 6, and more people pretend to prefer number 6 nibs. So we'll get to it eventually, which is why I'm not like, I prefer number 5 nibs, because the way I hold my pens, getting an example for you. This is a Prera. I hold my pens real close to the edge of the section. Like, a lot of people will hold them back. Like, no, I like holding them real close. And so a number 6 nib is actually a little bit, like, even if I hold it way close, like as close as I can, like all the way up on the section, it's still a little bit too far away from the actual nib tip writing surface. It's for me, and so I prefer the number 5 nibs because that just fits my handwriting better. But most people don't do that. They hold it back more, but they prefer the length, etc. And so I just accepted it. I've accepted that's my fate, is just to wait for it. And, I'm cool with that. And that's just how it'll go. But, yeah, so that was fun. The one regret I have with Ralph nibs in this weekend is that I never got a chance to actually dip test the stupid, like, hammerhead shark nib. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's literally dumb. So my favorite crazy nib practically that I want to actually buy from Ralph is the sequel. That's the one that is extra fine in normal writing. You flip it over, it's a like broad or double broad for like headers and stuff, because that actually I would really use that in real life, because there are many times when I do want a bigger nib for headers, but like I wouldn't use it enough to justify inking up and owning a whole ass pen with a broad nib. So that's the most practical for me. In terms of enjoy playing with, my favorite playing with was his original Ragnarok, which is the 7-layer nib. I would never use it, but it was just so stupidly ridiculous. It was just like, it made you giggle. Like, that's the point of it. Let me see if I can pull up ye old Instagram pictures to show you guys. Because I did take some pictures in case anyone hasn't seen Ralph's nibs. I know I need to throw that window up here. Cool. I'm gonna need to resize that. No, that's the opposite. There we are. Good job. So this is the hammerhead, named for obvious reasons. It was a joke on Slack, I think, that they wanted to do. I think it was like Joey Feldman or something was like, I want some stupid ridiculous pen, like triple broad oblique or whatever. And it was just like, and Ralph came back and was like, yup. So yeah, that was fun. But I never actually got to ink up with this and play with it. He apparently writes like shit because it was a joke, but it's still funny. This is the original Ragnarok. It's dumb. And like, it's dumb, but it flows, and it's just like, really? And yeah, that's a writing sample. That's on .grid. And this is actually not full broadness. So the way the Ragnarok works is that the higher angle you hold it, the thinner the line is going to be. And I tend to hold my pens more vertical than most. So most people would actually get even more of a brush out of it. Versus I actually got something thin for the Ragnarok out of it. It's just dumb. That is Ralph's like reasonable Ragnarok. That's 5 nib. That's the one that he took to DC and had Masayama do the final grind on. Because Masayama knows how to do those like official Sailor Nagahara grinds. There's a video of this floating around on Instagram somewhere. But yeah, Masayama was like, you didn't. It was great. Didn't like that one as much, but it's also tuned to Ralph's writing, not my writing. And I mean, fair. I also wasn't using it quite as intended. And yeah, that's one of the Crown sequel. I actually have this sheet of paper, so I can show you how it held up. But yeah, this Crown sequel is basically 2 nibs layered on top of each other in inverse trilogy, and then this little crown helps with ink flow. But yeah, so now I'm gonna undo the window capture and go back to rearrange all my little things. Where is it? Okay, so I did write it in this Rhodia pad. So this is the front side. This is the back. I wrote it on the back of a sheet that already exists. But there's a little bit of bleed through, like up here and stuff. But it's not terrible. Like, for how ridiculous this is, I would expect even Rhodia to just have like some major issues. But honestly, it just looks like midway decent fountain pen paper with a Ragnarok subjected to it. Which, like I said, ain't bad. Oh yeah, and here's the comparisons with the sequel nib. The focus isn't great on this. But so the small one it's right side up, and then the bigger, fatter one is upside down. And I could use that in every day, but Ralph doesn't make number 5 nibs. That means I would have to purchase something that is a number 6 nib, and I don't want to do that. Honestly, I've messed with enough Franklin Christophs, especially at the show, that it just seems that their design aesthetic doesn't really, not as design aesthetic, but the way they shape their sections really doesn't fit my hand very well. So, that's just how it works. I could probably find another pen maker or like a Chewbacca pen or something if I really wanted to. But yeah, so that was Thursday, was lots of, well, not really drinks at the bar because I was already so tired. It was like I was drunk, but lots of just throwing things around. Mainly messing with Ralph's stuff, but that was a lot of fun. Friday, I was a little slow to get going because of said travel day ahead of time, but it was fine because the first half of the show on Friday, so the morning, was all access pass only. So it was basically the people that were there all weekend. The vendors were slowly setting up. Like, some of the vendors know they have to be up and ready first thing Friday morning. Like Franklin Christoph and Masubi especially were like there and ready to go Friday morning because people bum rushed them. But otherwise, people slowly started wandering in. It was very chill in the morning. It's people just slowly wandering around. I had time to mess with all the inks testing stations, which that was the thing that surprised me. So at other pen show, hey, look, it's a troll. Hello, troll friend. Okay, never actually had to deal with trolls before. Time to have some fun. How do I wield the band hammer? This is fun. There we are. Band hammer. Bye, band hammer. Hey. Lord and Savior Shrek. Like, really? That's actually kind of funny. But yeah. No, the prototypes, that's, everyone bum rushes the prototypes. Masubi, because this is the first show Masubi has had. Well, I think the last show Masubi was here in the US was Chicago, where they premiered the pen cases. And then this show, they had the little size cases. Oh, I should probably I can bring up these and show you. In theory, you would think I would have had this all set up ahead of time, but no. That's too logical. So these were the Masubi cases, or at least part of the Masubi cases. So you could see they have these. They used to only have just the A5 size, which is the bigger one, and then they had. Hey, go get yourself a drink. Because I don't want spam, Illuminati, so now you're gonna be blocked too. Because you are clearly spamming. Hello, friend. We gonna ban him. There we are. Bye-bye. No spam. Bye, spam. I will not hesitate with ban hammer. If you're going to spam me, you get ban hammer. I thought it was funny spam. But, yeah. So, yeah. Oh my goodness, all of these. So, the problem with the Masubi, or not problem, is that it's also very pretty. I probably pet it, just did drive-bys past Daryl's table to pet them about 5 times a day at least, because they needed pettings. It was very important. But yeah, so yeah, you got the bigger size, and then you got the A6 Jotter, and then you got the slim A6. I considered strongly getting one of these Lucky Cats in the slim A6. Because, like, they're so pretty and they're the least expensive, but I really can't do blank paper. I can't do it. Like, I can do any other type of ruling. Blank paper, I just can't. And that's all that Masubi does, because most people like blank paper and it fits with their aesthetic. And so I just wouldn't use it, and it would just sit there and be very pretty. And I can't really justify that cost. Maybe in the future when I have more disposable income. But yeah, but no, these Sakura ones were super tempting. So these ones in the middle are all versions of leather. So this bottom one is goat suede, and then the rest of these are all like calf leather and other leather, and it's just like super pretty. Yeah, no, I can't with blank. I just can't do it. But yeah, these sold like hotcakes, and this is mainly because Daryl likes leather, so he's like, I want to do a leather notebook. Yeah, I really tempted by the Sakura. You could thank Brad Dowdy for these pictures, by the way, because he said that he wanted me to mule Masubi, so I took these pictures, texted them to him, and he was like, no, I don't need to spend more money. And I was like, cool. Well, now I just have these pictures. And then these were the more standard offerings. So we have like these different patterns. We have all the dragonflies. The dragonflies were also really like super pretty. Hello. But yeah, no, these were just all gorgeous. And just like I said, they needed pettings. So, okay, yeah. So, and then you also had the owls over to the side, which those were super tempting. I've spent time looking at these on the website, and it was just like, oh, the pets. They need the pets. And then these geometric ones. These ones don't appeal to me on the website or in photos, but in person, they have much more depth, and they're super appealing. So the A5 Slims were, I want to say, so basically take the A5 price and knock $10 off for each size. So the A5 is going to be somewhere between 80 and 100 depending on the fabric. The A6 is going to be either 70 or 90 depending on the fabric, and the A6 Slims were going to be 60 or 80 depending on the fabric. That's kind of their two tiers. From what I can tell, is the regular fabrics are like that $20 cheaper, and then the more exclusive harder to get fabrics are about $100 for an A5. So all these over here on this side of the table, all these and these were the more regular offerings. So these were all went 60, 70, 80 in terms of pricing tier, versus all of this stuff on this side was the expensive stuff, which of course the Lucky Cats are my favorite. So that's 80, 90, 100. And then I don't know when Daryl's going to put more of this on the website, because he got cleaned out pretty good. It's funny, before the show, he was like, please buy all my stuff so I don't have to like take it back like an overloaded donkey. And then coming back, he was like, you guys bought so much stuff, I can't put it on the website. People are bugging me. And I'm like, well, you asked. But yeah, and then over here at this stand, I didn't get a good picture of it, was all the indigo stuff in the wool. Yeah, it was all super pretty. Do I have any more pictures? Oh, yes. So that was mainly that for the morning. And then, of course, speaking of Daryl, if you are not on the Pet Addict Slack, you might not be aware of this, but Daryl is very good at terrible naming conventions, or like shitty names. So at one point he was like, oh yeah, I like wearing flower crowns around. That was the other part of the show. And I was like, pen shows tend to be a little stuffy, in my opinion. I'm used to fan cons, which are like nutso and have all sorts of craziness. And so I'm like, I want to inject more craziness into a little bit of fan con into pen shows. So I brought my flower crown, I'll show you what I wore later, but that's for later. But yeah, so my outfit for Friday was strong wood nymph vibes, because it's also like a flower pattern dress. But yeah, so yeah, Daryl, as a joke months ago, was like, yeah, Sunny from Straits Pens is coming up with these like mixing ink bases, and I'm trying to convince him that Shitty Sepia is a viable viable name. And then he did, and then Sunny let him name all the colors. And so it's just like hilarious. They're like the Honest Inks line or something. So it's like, yeah, so we have Poor Man Sapphire, which is a dupe of Parker Penman Sapphire, Happy Accident Lilac, Sad Stormy Swedish Sea, and Shitty Sepia. I took little dip pen writing samples of each of these, and I got, and I bought Shitty Sepia and Poor Man Sapphire, and so now I'm gonna minimize this, go back to this, and I will show you what they look like actually in my swabs. So instead of just pictures sharing screen. So yeah, so we got mirroring Poor Man Sapphire and Shitty Sepia. So where am I swabbed them at the bar, because as you do at a pen show. So hey, thanks Paper Cat Lady. I appreciate it. I should make that little notification bigger. I have no way, the little alert box, I don't really have a good way to preview it because Twitch doesn't have it hooked up. Streamlabs OBS doesn't have it hooked up really well. But yeah, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Anyway, so this is Shitty Sepia. I got a little bit of water on it the other day, but it's a good solid brown. It actually reminds me of, I haven't put these in rainbow order yet, so I could actually, this will be the active IRL, me figuring out where it goes in the coloring, because I keep my stuff in rainbow order largely because that's how I use my coloring most often. Sometimes I want to look for things by brand, but I would say it leans more on the like greenish brown spectrum. Yeah. I would say probably its closest dupes are, so here's your Shitty Sepia. Probably the closest is Diamine Macassar. It's coming through washed out more on my screen. Yeah, I don't have Lee Dete, so I don't have a swab of that, but I believe you. And then also Pelican Edelstein Smoky Quartz. Smoky Quartz has more yellow in it. When you compare it to something with more green, like Rikucha, in this webcam they look fairly close, but actually in real life there's a lot more green in Rikucha. I know, it's just, there's so many inks that I want samples of that it's just like, you know, I don't have Brilliant Brown. I only have Smoky Quartz in terms of Pelican Browns. It's also kind of, like if I stick it between Robert Oster Dark Chocolate, Oster has a lot more purple in it. But yeah, browns could have a really wide range and run the gamut. So I'm going to stick it between Macassar and Rikucha. That seems about right. Silly coloring. So then the next one is Poor Man's Sapphire. Look how great that is. Look at that. I told you it was a dupe for Parker Penman Sapphire. And it doesn't have quite the sheen that Penman Sapphire has, but in terms of saturation and color, it's real good. It's more vibrant than it's coming off on here. Yeah, it's super good. And it was, unlike Penman Sapphire, this was $6 for this little thing. I've got the little bottles in the plastic, but you can also get them in 50 mils. So this is 30 mils. You can get them in 50 mils. In the Sailor Vase bottles, which are nice, but I don't have like an undying affection for those bottles. Like, probably eventually I want one, but like, I'm to the point where I have enough ink that getting the smaller amounts is better for me. Also, I think it's funnier in this to have, but yeah, you can get shitty sepia in the Sailor Vase bottle, which is coveted, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, so I'm going to now go look and stick it with my blues. Because I didn't actually do this comparison while at the show, but I want to say it's probably a good dupe for like Colorverse Supernova. It's Straits pens. So, yeah. Sorry, I just hit the swatch. And yeah, so if you like Colorverse Supernova, Supernova's a little bit... like does a little bit lighter blue, but Supernova is like is $36 or something for the whole like 80 mils versus you get 30 mils of Poor Man's Sapphire for $6. Hey, plus shipping from Singapore. Let me see if it also is comparable to some of these darker blues. So if we're comparing it to now Colorverse Quasar, Colorverse Quasar is a lot darker and has more purple in it. Same with Chicago Blue. But this is actually a fairly good dupe, or like a lighter version for Chicago Blue. If you ever make it to San Francisco, you can actually mix your own. So you could mix this with a little bit of black, like 1 to 10 or something drops, and get probably a good dupe for Chicago Blue if that is something you missed out and miss. But yeah, it's very close to Colorverse Quasar, or not Quasar, Supernova. But for, let's see, what is it, 80 mils versus 30 mils, that's about $36. Do math. So that would be about, Colorverse for the same amount would be a little over $12 versus this stuff is $6, half the price. Yeah, it's super pretty. So I'm going to stick that right after Colorverse Supernova. And I actually was disappointed with Supernova when I inked up my sample. It just doesn't come across as quite as vibrant as it does in the swab. It's just a little bit of a letdown in the actual nib, unless you have like a pelican broad or something. Versus the sepia actually, or not sepia, the Poor Man's Sapphire comes across really well, even in smaller nibs. But yeah, this is like blue. This is probably, I've never seen Bay State Blue, but this is probably an also good alternative to that without exploding your pens. So let me get a link for you. I don't know if they have them up on the website yet, but it's worth a shot. Straits pens. So this is Straits pens. This is Sunny. Let's see, inks. So it's just Google Straits pens. They're in Singapore, so it's Straits as in like Straits of Jakarta. Inks. Got all the noodlers. In theory, Straits pens are the ones that have this. They don't have it listed. Oh, Scribes ink, I think, maybe? No. Okay. So they don't have it listed yet. I'm not surprised because San Francisco was the premiere of these, and they just got back like 2 days ago. Their whole trip was a misadventure. So I would either email them about buying it, and then you could ship it from them. I don't know what shipping is going to be like. Let's see what shipping looks like, because Emil, you're in Poland, right? Internationally, by Sing Post. Yeah, it's going to be... You're probably going to have to get a quote from them as what the charging is, about what the cost is going to be for that. And then they also had a bunch of other Chinese inks that are hard to find, that again, they aren't listed on the website, but they brought them to the show. I don't know quite how it works with that. Again, I would hit Yield Contact and ask them about their Chinese inks and ask them about their mixing inks, because they aren't listed on the website. They are, but they do have them. I don't know what their policies are with the Chinese inks. I know some of them they only bring to shows. Yeah, they had Pen BBS inks. They had the Ancient Charm Song, 24 Solar Terms, and Starry inks. So all like the Chinese inks that are hard to get a hold of, unless you're in China, they had them at the show. I also know various people took the leftovers home with them. So if you want the Ancient Charm or Song inks, those went with the Van S's. So you'll be able to get their leftovers on Van S pens. And Van S also carries a lot of Pen BBS, so you could put it all in one order. Don't know how much shipping is for you from Van S to Poland. Hungry Nerd actually has their leftover stock of 24 Solar Terms and their Straits pens inks. But I think how that's working is she's just serving as a US shipping site. You can't actually contact her to purchase it. You need to pay Sunny and then she'll ship it. I don't know if that's going to make a difference for you going to Poland, because US international shipping is dumb. It might be better off for you just to buy straight from them in Singapore. But if you're in the US, contact Hungry Nerd. And then Nick Pang has their leftovers of Starry ink, and I think he said he was bringing that to the Colorado show. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so that again is going to be your source to easily get those in the US. I don't know about Poland or anywhere outside the US. I would email Sunny or just the contact form on Straits Pens and just inquire about that and just see what's going on. Because I know some of them, they don't retail normally on the website. They just brought them to the show. It's a little weird. Yeah, so speaking of the other ink, basically I had goals on Friday. There were some things that I knew I wanted, and I wanted to get them then, and then the rest of the show I would go about and ponder. So getting my Straits pens inks were very important. So those were two things I did right away. And while I was there, I knew I wanted to get some of the Chinese inks from Sunny, because it's a pain in the ass to get them in the US, and they were right there in front of me. So I bought Starry ink, Silent Corduroy on Friday, because Hungry Nerd left her notebook there for them to look at swabs, and this was super pretty. Let's get the swab of that up. So this is the Silent Corduroy. It's a very pretty gray, pale blue, and it does have gold shimmer, but the gold shimmer is very subtle. It's very well distributed. It's not like Rouge Hematite or the Giarbon ones where it's just glitter in your face, go. It adds a very subtle sparkle just to the whole thing, to the point where if you get one of the darker ones, you might be able to get away with it in an office setting if someone doesn't look too close. but it's not going to be like someone looking across, like looks across towards your desk and be like, is that glitter all over your desk? But let me take the bottle out and show you. So these were kind of expensive. So it's 20 milliliters and it was $18 for this little itty bitty 20 milliliter bottle. But it has so much fucking shimmer in it. It's ridiculous. Like, I did a review of this last night, late at night, and I emptied out the pens, and there was just like gold rivers going down just from cleaning out my pens down in my sink. Like, it's ridiculous. Also, these are going to have a price increase soon, according to Sunny, because of ye old trade war instigated by the orange one. So bottled ink from China falls under one of the things that's involved in the trade war. So there's going to be like a 25% increase. Yeah, no, it's shimmer with ink. That's what this one is. Yeah, this is, it's just like to the point where I thought I shook up this bottle enough to get the sample, but so I did my standard like shaking. I was like, okay, this is how much shaking I do for Girbon. It should be fine. Did the swab and then went to fill it and looked down and I was like, I still have stuff stuck in the bottom of this. It is literally shimmer with ink. It's so pretty and it comes in a bunch of different colors. I know in this little packet thing they have a little, like, you get an idea of their color range. But, yeah, Hungry Nerd has some samples of it, but it's hard to find swabs of these on the internet. So I'm hoping from the stuff that was bought at this show, there will now be more swabs of it out there and more reviews of it out there on the internet. But yeah, so this is a corollary to what I was saying earlier about how Sunny et al. Had just like a shit show of a show. So they had so much stuff. Like, they had 4 tables and just so much stuff. And so they got there like a week early to get all the stuff assembled. And they were like storing it in people's garages instead of taking out a rental unit. And then everyone was super jet lagged because Singapore is on the other side of the planet. So it's literally a 12-hour difference. And so they're trying to do all this work while super jet lagged. Their entire staff is jet lagged. They were just like zombies the whole show. I asked Sunny ahead of time, like, oh, hey, are you going to have swabs out of all these inks? Because it's hard for me to find them ahead of time. And they said, oh, we'll have Hungry Nerd's notebook. But that didn't really work too well because people kept flipping through it and their pages weren't clearly marked which inks they had. Because the way her notebook is, it's her personal notebook. She would have like the 24 solar terms and there'd be like a Bungu box page or something. And so you needed to do a lot of flipping to get back and forth to figure out the colors. I was able to navigate it because I knew this was the setup ahead of time. But if you're someone that's just coming into the show, and you don't know this, it's actually a little bit overwhelming. And they also didn't have all their selection out. Like, I knew, again from Slack, Sunny posted a list of what he was bringing, that he was bringing Ancient Charm Song, 24 Solar Terms, but I saw only this Starry ink out on Friday, and so I assumed that meant that, okay, I knew he was doing pre-sale stuff, so he probably sold out of all that stuff, and they don't have it. But then I asked, and oh, it was just behind the table? And so it was really hard to, like, figure out what they even had, and, like, know what it looked like. Eventually, when we hit Saturday, they had started actually putting out swabs, and by Sunday they had swabbed most of everything and actually put out stock of most of everything, and that helped a ton just to show what they had, what color everything was, and what corresponds to each box, because in most of these boxes it's only Chinese on there. The Starry ink is the only one that had the names in English. Otherwise, they had the boxes out there, but it was all in Chinese, so trying to match the characters in Hungry Nerd's notebook to what the actual bottle was, you basically had to ask them to get it for you because it was hard to decipher what was what. Because, yeah, you can in theory match the glyphs, but I wasn't sure, like, which glyphs were what. Like, where is the ink name on this? Like, there's a bunch of glyphs. Like, there's, like, at some point there's clearly, like, okay, so here's the Ancient Song bottle. and it had this little stuff at the top, and that doesn't actually like correspond to the name. The name was only like on the side, and like for the 24 solar terms, you can't see it now because my bottle got inked on the way home. One of these weren't even out. I had to ask for them to get it from behind the counter, but like I didn't know if like was this the name, was this the ink name? It was all very confusing. They need to make a setup, and everything was just sort of laid out on the table. There was not a really good setup. Everything was like in boxes, priority boxes behind the table. It was all just very confusing. What they need to do is, one, like hire people or get people on staff that are based in the US, so that way their staff isn't all entirely jet lagged. But also like maybe just like rent a storage unit in the California area, not necessarily in the Bay Area directly, but like if they come in a little early, they can have that staff go get it from the cheaper area. So that way they can have like shelving to put all their stuff out, make sure everything's swabbed ahead of time, maybe put a firm price list on everything. Partway through Sunday, they were putting English labels on all the things because people couldn't read it because it's in Chinese and this is in San Francisco. Well, you're probably going to have a sizable portion of maybe people at the pen show that can like at least work their way around Chinese glyphs or Chinese characters, even if they don't speak Chinese, depending on the dialect, obviously, because a lot of Chinese is a very heterogeneous language. This just helped a ton to figure out what was in what box. So they need to, and this is like not their first show, so it's just like they just need a lot more organization. And I think that really hurt them in terms of sales because it was just such a mess. Yeah, it was. So you say for like buying limited access items from behind a table, like during the Iron Curtain. One of the funny things is Sonny actually had a case of cup and noodles behind the table. So he had stuff and like a hot water kettle. So he had stuff to eat like at the table, and he could make himself tea at the table. So you could literally go up to Sonny and be like, "Can I have a cup of noodles?" And he would give you a cup of noodles. It was so sketchy. But it was kind of hilarious. And at one point, I didn't go for a cup of noodles, but I was just looking for hot water for tea. And, like, there was another vendor that was right next to Sonny that had, like, a coffee maker back there. And so I was like, "Are you the one that I go to for hot water?" And he was like, "No, turn around." And Sonny was, like, pouring a cup of noodles, like, desperately. This was, like, Sunday morning. So Sonny's just sitting there, like, exhausted, just, like, dejectedly stirring the hot water into his cup of noodles. Oh, goodness. So yeah, they need to get a much better action plan involved with this, because they had the opportunity to clean up in terms of like inks and stuff, because they had all this stuff that was like really hard to find in the US and is not easy to even order overseas. It's not even that it's hard to get in the US, it's hard to get just period. So they just need help with their organization. Unlike Daryl was very together with his organization, but Daryl also is aware that his clientele is very high end, and if he's not on point, he is like, that's a critical part of his sales. It's a very much part of his presentation. He also didn't have the variety of stock they did. He just lays it out nicely on the table and present. So even though they're both coming from Singapore, it's so much more of a mess with Sonny from Straits Pens. I love that they were there because I could get these Chinese inks. Like, when Sonny posted that link on, or that list on Slack of stuff he was bringing so people could like order or something or place orders, I looked at that and was like, shit, I am going to be throwing so much money at Sonny. And I did. I bought 5 bottles of ink from Sonny. I only bought ink from him. The other bottle of ink I had I won as a door prize. So yeah, I sent a lot of money. But yeah, speaking of, so now I do want to see what Silent Cordite matches. There's not going to be an exact match in my entire bunch of ink, but you never know. This is probably closest. So closest is in the Faber-Castell Deep Sea Green, and then Pelican Edelstein Aquamarine, aka chalk in a pen. This ink is so dry. Oh my god. Deep Sea Green is close-ish, but it's not as crisp as the Starry ink, and both of these are a lot more green. So this is a very unique shade, which is why I gravitated towards it, even though I normally don't go for like light inks or pastels. I'm probably going to put it, yeah, between these. Because the next ink I have after that is Lamy Petrol, which clearly doesn't work. It's a little dark. I guess you could say it's kind of close to Enchanted Ocean, but Enchanted Ocean is a much darker version. But again, these are all way more green than the Cordite. Cordite's much more very blue. It's maybe a little bit in the teal category, but it's very much like a pale, dusty blue that's fucking gorgeous. So those were my ink acquisitions on Friday, was these ones. The other thing I got on Friday was this one. That makes sense in terms of shipping liquids. There's, I think, liquid restrictions for shipping in the US, but because they do ask you when you ship anything if it has liquids in it. So I haven't encountered any issues with it, but that's because the US is a cohesive country versus EU. I'd imagine individual countries do have different regulations. But also the USPS doesn't check, they don't audit their packages very often. But yeah, anyway, the other thing I got was this is a Lady Schaefer. Lisa Anderson had a huge collection of these and decided to sell them in DC, or start selling off the collection, because she just wasn't using them. I was keeping my fingers crossed that there would be some left over for San Francisco, because I love these things, but DC could be a feeding frenzy. But luckily I got there, I basically beelined it first thing Friday morning. Well, not beelined. I wandered around, but I stopped when I got to the Anderson's table and actually bought something, tested these out. So she had a couple different of these. I liked like 4 of them because, of course. So then I started dip testing. This one is white and it has lines going across it. I learned from Pandemonium that this is the corduroy pattern. And then here is the nib. It's one of the Schaefer conical nibs with a Waverly point, so it flips up a little bit. It's similar to my Tucky, which is somewhere around here. So I got this Tucky at the Atlanta Pen Show in 2017, and it has a very similar point. I love how these nibs write. They're nails. They are not flexible at all. But they're super smooth and really fine. So if you like that sort of thing and can deal with a thinner girth of pen, these are super pretty, super nice. They come in a lot of different colors and varieties. Let me see if I can get a good pen to show you comparison girth that's pretty common. So this is a Pilot Prera. So comparing it to a Prera, I'd say the diameter is like a millimeter or 2 less than a Prera. But yeah, it's nothing like a Lilliput. A Lilliput's super, super tiny. Looking at other pens I have that I can compare. Some common ones. So Lamy 2000. It's actually pretty comparable to more towards the nib end of the Lamy 2000, depending on where you grip it. If you tend to grip your Lamy 2000 closer to the nib, it's actually a pretty comparable nib or grip section with words. My work schedule was crazy before San Francisco, and then I did San Francisco, and then I came back and I went right back to the crazy because so what I'm doing right now is tutoring, and school has started again. And my specialty is doing like academic and STEM tutoring. And so all of a sudden people are like panicking, like, I need help. And so when I booked for San Francisco, I didn't really have much booked in terms of tutoring clients. And then since I booked, they were like, oh, we want it. And then I was like, shit, I'm going to be gone for like 5 days. And so I had to like push everyone and rearrange. And so I just was like, stack schedule, San Francisco, stack schedule. So I'm very tired. I'm looking forward to not having to fucking go anywhere tomorrow. Like, I don't have to get dressed tomorrow, which is the first time that's happened in like 3 weeks. Like, I haven't had a day where I've just had a jammy day in like 3 weeks. And I like my jammy days. But anyway, so the thing with the Schaefer, Lady Schaefers, is that they're too thin for the standard Schaefer converters. But they do take modern Schaefer carts. So what you do is just get a Schaefer cart and stick it on there and then syringe refill it. You can get thin converters. Schaefer did make thin converters for a spell, but they have stopped making them like 30 years ago or something. And at this point, would cost me more than the pen. The pen was $25. You can find those converters for $30 on eBay. And I'm like, fuck that. A pack of Schaefer cartridges is like $6. I'll just do that and refill. And Schaefer makes a really good red. I've been meaning to get a bottle of this forever. So I just, on Sunday, it was a beast. I bought a pack of Schaefer converters and just threw them in there. It was amazing. Not many people at the show carried Schaefer converters, or not converters, carts. Probably because the people that carry ink are focused more on modern pens, and Schaefer's modern pens are meh. So they don't really have the demand. But luckily, some of the vintage people there were a couple vintage vendors that also carry ink. And I bought this from Pandemonium. That's also the person who told me. And she was like, oh, I want to make sure that it fits because some of the Lady Schaefers are even too thin for the carts. But she was like, and you need a special cart. But no, this is good. I love Targas. Oh my God. The only thing that holds me, Targas have the inlaid nib and they're super pretty and they have the flat tops and oh my goodness, they're so pretty. But, they only really tend to come in either the metal finishes or like blacks. And I tend to like, those are kind of my least favorite finishes are the all metal and the black finishes. Like, I'll deal with black, but like, yeah, it's not like my ideal thing. But I'd get a black and gold Targa, like standard black pen, gold trim Targa for that like super nice inlaid nib. Targas aren't very popular though, so it's actually not terribly easy to find them at shows. Or you'll have all like the rare. Oh, see, you should have just asked me, and I would have it. But anyway, but yeah, you tend to have like the rare Targas floating around, but the common ones not as much, just because I guess they're not as like big. Like there's not as many collectors. Yeah, no, you can get Targas fairly straightforward. I should ask around and see who like tends to keep an eye on Schaefers, because I know Nick is really good at keeping an eye on Parkers. Jesse does Esterbrook's. I want to see who our resident like Schaefer dealer is and ask them to keep an eye out on Targas for me. But yeah, so that was my purchase these were my purchases on Friday. Were these guys, because I knew I wanted these ones especially, and then I saw this there and was like, well, as long as I'm here, I'm going to buy that. And then this one. Oh, and then, sorry, forgot on Thursday, at the bar I bought from Nick, Inky Converters had Angela He partnered with the Nick to make washi tape and pins. And I want to take the wrapping off so you can actually see the design on it, because otherwise the glare will prevent you from doing that. If I can actually, this is like super shrink wrapped. I am like fucking up my nail polish right now because this nail polish is delicate and now I have to claw at it, but it's fine. I have lots of nail polish. This nail polish is like, yeah, already chipped, but you know, I accept that. There's a reason why when I post my nail polish pictures on Instagram, it says bad at nail polish and grubby nails, because I am not delicate with my nails. I've been better since I've started doing the post, so that way I post so I actually like don't look completely embarrassing, but yeah, I'm not shy about this. Is like difficult to get off. Whoever they ordered this from, China, it's silly. So this is the one. This is the San Francisco one, so it's got the Golden Gate Bridge and it's got little. Yeah, nails are tools. That's what they're for. So they've got little, apparently these are all mascots for San Francisco. I'm not familiar. There is, I haven't seen that blog where they're doing matching sparkle nail polish to diamine shimmery inks, but what I've been doing with my nail post is doing matching ink colors to the nail polish, because why not? But yeah, this says like there's like a little walnut, a little bear, and a little otter. I don't know the significance of these because I'm not a San Francisco native. I am not, so I don't, apparently these are mascots, I'm not sure. But it's cute and I like it. Lawn care people decided, oh, you're going to do a live stream and you're going to try and take a nap beforehand. Let's start lawn caring. But yeah, so the other one is a rainbow unicorn with rainbows in the background holding, I think, a Parker, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look back at Angela's drawing. This could also be a sailor. This could be one of those funky colored sailors. And there's bottles of Girbon sparkle ink also going around with them. And these are awesome. They also had enamel pin versions of them. So you could get an enamel pin version of the unicorn or all three, any of these washi dudes. And the pins, I think Nick was selling them for like $40 for the set. And I think either 15 to 20 each. They were a little pricey. And also, I don't ever know what to do with enamel pins. Because, like, when I put them on things, they tend to fall off. And also, I don't like that they poke straight through the fabric. Versus, like, buttons tend to be, the pin part tends to be a little more forgiving to the fabric because it's thinner. Versus pins tend to have a more substantial pokey part, which like leaves a more permanent hole in the fabric, so I don't like that as much. But I need to get some of, enamel pins are the like thing nowadays versus buttons, and I keep like acquiring enamel pins even though I don't seek them out. So I should probably buy some pin backs or something, or figure out like a tote bag system or something. Someone at the show showed me, someone makes, let me make it so you can link. I can whitelist you somehow. I either need to whitelist you in my bot or in the Twitch moderating things. So, because I have you whitelisted on my bot. Spam filter settings. Okay, so this is in the Twitch mod. So let me go back and moderation. Huh. Interesting. Permissions, maybe? I'm very confused as to where this setting is. I apologize. I want to allow you to post the link, but general settings. No, now I actually want to know. Yeah, so this is somewhere in the Twitch settings. I don't know where it is because I'm looking at my MooBot. I'm looking at my moderator bot, and it's like it doesn't show any blocked links from you, so it's somewhere in Twitch proper that it's being blocked. So I need to figure that out because the setting isn't readily obvious, so I'll figure that out later. But yeah, because I, like, yeah. Deluxe pin clutches. That's a good idea. Because the thing is with pins, I want to display them somehow, but, like, my instincts goes to bags, but then they're gonna, like, likely fall off bags. I also need somewhere to display. I have a bunch of ribbons from the state fair last year because I submitted my knitting, and apparently I'm a very good knitter compared to most of the people in Georgia, so I cleaned up. I have a shit ton of ribbons, and they're just kind of, like, hanging on, like, a trunk right now, and so I'd like a way to display them properly. Hi, Christine. Yeah, so anyway, these were what I got these on Thursday. Pouch maybe. I just need to figure out what I'm thinking I want to do is I have a space on my wall in the other room that, like, I could probably, like, hang like a good piece of fabric there, or a sturdy piece of fabric that I could pin those ribbons to, and I could also put enamel pins there, and that would be cool, but that also requires me to, like, go to the fabric store. Yeah, canvas knitting bag, I considered her like a tote. Someone in San Francisco, because I brought this up there, their friend makes knitting bags that have, it's got, like, there's a couple different bag types. You can get the types that have, like, fabric, and then there's, like there's 2 layers of fabric. Like, the pin like, there's layers of protective fabric between, like, the outside world and the pins and the pin backs. Yeah, no, I know the same thing, Christine. My Twitch app is selective as to when it wants to actually notify me about people going live or not. So even though I have it set up to notify me, it's just a crapshoot whether it'll actually do it. So that's why I like to post the links everywhere, because that's also how I get it. Yeah, so, like, some sort of backing or protective thing either on the front end of the pins to protect it, or the back end. Oh no, it stopped playing. It's not on my end, Michelle, so I don't know what's going on with your stream. So I'm just asking. So did it stop playing for everyone, or just you, Christine? Let me double check, because I've had it just, like, stop midway before. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, so there's ways to get everything working. But yeah, I have the same issue as Christine. So, like, just the Twitch app actually rivals the Tumblr app for non-functionality, I find. Wax canvas on a frame for a wall. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just never got sent by Twitch, because that end of Twitch is not good. But yeah, so, anyway, so Saturday I ended up, oh, no. There is another part. Friday afternoon, I went to go take a nap because I was exhausted. Ended up taking a nap for longer than possible, but then, I brought a special thing to wear to the auction that I will show you now. I brought my T-Rex costume and then I wore it to the auction because I'm, like, ridiculous like that. I walked in partway through the auction. I had intended to just walk in with everyone else, and so not disrupt the auction, but I slept a little too much. So I just walked in partway through the auction in T-Rex costume, and it was fucking hilarious. The auctioneer was distracted and was like, after doing that lot, was like, okay, T-Rex, who are you? And I'm like, T-Rex. And they were like, huh? And I was like, T-Rex like pens. And they're like, cool, T-Rex. You're getting auctioned off with the next lot. And so I was technically supposed to go home with bidder number 39. I did consider bidding on things in the T-Rex costume, but it's hard to see details in that costume. Like, I could recognize people that I already knew, but, like, people that I kind of knew, no idea. I could see shapes. I could see that there was pens on display, like on the screen projector for the auction. I could see that there was a pen shape, but I couldn't see any details. And so I didn't want to bid on anything that I really had no idea what I was buying. Oh my goodness, yeah. But yeah, I bought this costume like 2 years ago for Halloween, and I've gotten so much mileage out of it. It is the best thing. One of my best Amazon purchases ever was this costume. We decided later that there's no situation that isn't improved by the T-Rex costume. It just depends on your imagination and how much property damage you're willing to inflict. That thing has a huge tail that's full of air that is hard. Like, you're not really aware that it's there because it's full of air, but it's like giant. So I wouldn't dare take that thing through the pen show floor because I would just cause like thousands and thousands of dollars in like pen damage probably. But it was fun. I took it off after the auction because it's really hot in there. There's a fan, but the fan's to keep it inflated rather than to keep you cool. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah, and then also, sorry, I want to switch back. You say, like, short stubby hands isn't an exaggeration, so the way that costume is, it cuts you off for the arm right here, like the body starts at your elbow up, so your range of motion is really only what you can rotate your forearm. It's so ridiculous. Like, I love it so much, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass to navigate around in, but it's levity. So that was Friday night. Friday night, hung out at the bar with some very cool people. Hung out with Anna and Jesse initially, followed them from the auction, and then they went to bed because they were exhausted, and then hung out with Pierre from Desderata Pens quite a bit, and someone named Kim, don't remember her handle, but she was cool. Then also did floating around the bar, as you do. Hung out with someone who I later learned was Thomas Hall. He had he had like a shit ton of Conids that I was like, cool, I'll mess with these. And now I want a Conid, of course. I don't have $400 to spend on a Conid, but eventually maybe one day. But yeah, so that was Friday night. Saturday was a lot crazier because Friday it got a little busier when the general hours opened, but it was still like manageable. Saturday, it was difficult to even walk the floor. It was so packed. There was just so many people. You had to like scoot around people and everything. It's what I imagine like DC is probably like. I didn't experience this sort of I've never experienced this sort of packedness at a pen show before. It was huge. And I think that might be because fountain pens have been gaining a lot of popularity lately, like over the internet over the last couple of years. And San Francisco is kind of the weird, quirky place that, of course, people would be into, like, weird pens or whatever. I wore an Umbreon onesie while staffing the PIF table most of the day, so let's get that back up there. So yeah, I was an Umbreon at the PIF table most of Saturday. And that was fun. People were very confused. People that knew where I was were like, this is amazing. And other people were just like, I'm so confused. But I'm like, fine. It works. The PIF table was awesome. Super busy. We gave away so many starter kits. So many. I brought close to 100 that I had prepped for the Triangle show. But then I never made it to the Triangle show because I got sick right beforehand and couldn't do the drive. I'm a hot weather person. So the hotel was very air conditioned, and I was only wearing a tank top and shorts underneath, so I was fine. Once I took it off at the end of the day, I realized how hot I was, but it actually wasn't bad. I adjusted relatively quickly because I'm used to the tropics at this point. But yeah, so we gave away so many PIF kits. We were out of the ones that I brought by like 2 p.m. and then assembling ones. We gave away at least 100 kits. If not more. We might have just straight up run out of stuff. Like, I think we straight up ran out of kits midway through Sunday. And we had a ton of people that were like... Yeah, no, Twitch emoji game is a little weird. But there were so many people that were just like, oh my god, this is free. We enabled so many new people that were like accompanying people. It was just great. We had people come back because this is the second year San Francisco's had PIF. So we had people come to the table be like, I got my first fountain pen from you this last year, and now I'm deep into it, and like donated stuff because they were like brought into the hobby that way. And I love it when that happens. Yeah, and then it was also cool hanging out the PIF table all day because the PIF table was right next to well-appointed desk Skylab letterpress. So when I got to hang out with Anna's actual husband, Bob, which he's a hoot, but also Andy Welfley from Erasable was helping out Bob, and he was only going to be on there on Saturday, and I knew he was going to be working the PIF table. So I was like, we need to hang out, but I don't know how feasible it was going to be. We ended up basically standing next to each other the whole day Saturday and chatting and talking about pencils. And it was great because I've chatted with Andy a lot online, and it was great to be able to actually meet him and chat in person. And then actually Jesse, BYOB Jesse, was on the other side of Bob, and so we were just all in a line. This is also my first time meeting Jessie in person, and that was amazing. I also threw a lot of money at Jessie because she has good stuff. So yeah, PIF was mainly, I didn't buy anything on Saturday because I was behind the PIF table the whole day. And that was worth it. Like, completely worth it to me. I did some walk-arounds at points just to like stretch my legs, but I love working show tables. I actually really do enjoy it. It gives me something to do. Saturday, it was actually really helpful because it was so packed. It was nice to be in my own like defined space behind a table, and just to like help put all those kits together and everything. It's something I like having something to do. Assembling things is very close to like the menial lab work. So it's something that I'm very good at. And like one, I enjoy because I'm just like, I don't know, I like those tasks like that, but also I'm very good and efficient at it. So that's why I always tell people for PIF things, I'm like, just leave a lot of the things to me for when I get there, because I'll do it at the table and I'll be really fast at it. And that way you don't have to worry about it. And so I know that really helped out Kim and Franz, so they didn't have to, because I had all those pre-assembled kits and I just did a lot of the assembling right there at the table. That saved them a ton of work. So I was really happy to do that. Yeah, no, hey Alex! But yeah, so I just, like I said, enjoy doing that. And that was just, it was so much fun. And then Saturday we went immediately into the pen mixer. Oh, on Saturday we also had a little knitting meetup. So I talked to and everything Penguin Treats. So Andy, Julia Devi, Schmevelin, which I've actually was friends on with Schmevelin on Ravelry right before I discovered we were both into pens. So that was fun. Then Kim showed up. I think Catherine did. Pam also brought her knitting. So that was nice. We all did show and tell. I love doing that. Julia has some really intense stuff. She's got some really cool color work and stuff. She's good. But that was fun. But yeah, then after PIF, after the show hours, we went straight into the mixer, which that was a lot of fun. I did that in Baltimore before. And so they had 3 rooms. And what they did was, instead of you picking the room based off of like who's in the room, they just like gave you a number. Like you drew a number and then you went to that room and then you picked a table to sit at and then you did your rotation in the table. So my room had Ralph, Don, so Dan Don, the Conroe bookbinding guy, someone called Susan Ito who does, was it 1 Inch Wonders is her thing. And then, there's the Pelican guy, the like authority Pelican guy, Thomas something. He was the last one. And so that was cool. Ralph's table, I basically let every people who hadn't already played with them because I had been playing with them all weekend. But that was cool seeing people's reactions to Ralph's nibs for the first time. Don's table was always playtime. I've done it before and it was like, oh, these were the pens I didn't get to use last time I was at this table. Conroe bookbinding was really cool because he had different types of bound books there and different types of binding with different papers, and that was really neat. Susan Ito, you could make your own little 1 Inch Wonder. I made one. I don't know where it went. I put it somewhere. I got very drunk on Saturday, so who knows where it went. But that was fun. She does takes ink blobs and calligraphy inks and makes these inked backgrounds to it and then puts these little magazine cutouts on them. It's so cool. I think the hashtag is 1 Inch Wonders. Look it up. It's neat. And then Pelican was just history of Pelican with all these the most complete comprehensive Pelican collection you will probably ever see. including stuff that was worth, even though it was defective, like it had some damage and wear onto it, worth more than what I earn in a month or like even a couple months. And then he had another one of those pens that was it mint worth more than I make in a year. And I was like, you can keep that. I'm not going to touch that. But he had stuff that was custom, that he had custom ground when he went and visited Pelikan in Germany. I liked it a lot because I've always wondered about the Pelikan sizing because they have all that range of sizes, and just to be able to like have them all in front of me and try them all, see which sizes fit for me, because I know I like smaller pens, but like just how much smaller each of those are. I found out the M600 is a little on the big side for me, but I can use it. M400 is a really good place for me, and I like the M200s. I already knew that. And now I am now going to be on a tutorial quest for one of those white torty M400s because those are very pretty, and now I want one. This weekend was an exercise in let's add several $100 pens to Sarah's wish list. And then there were door prizes there. Got these little free packets of Tomoe River paper from Conroe Bookbinding. So it's like a little emergency MacBook of Tomoe River. And he does them in all different cool covers and stuff. So instead of like your standard craft and all sorts of things, you can get... He also makes the backpack or backpacker journal, back pocket journals. You can get them in all sorts of different cool covers and fun covers, and instead of just standard craft or whatever. And that's really fun. He had a huge bin of them you can look through. He doesn't have a website. He only has a Facebook page, or you can email him or DM him on Instagram. But they're super cool. And honestly, if you wanted anything custom, they'd probably be able to do it in a hot second. They're doing it because they love the bookbinding, not necessarily to like make a killing. So they're willing to do whatever. So that was cool. And then also my door prize at the pen mixer was the show ink. So that is the Pacific Teal. Ta-da! It's more vibrant than you show on here, but then it looks like on here. But it's a very nice teal because Robert Oster makes excellent teals. Let's see what it's comparable to, because again, I haven't done this part yet. Yeah, okay. So basically, if you were to take Robert Oster Blue Denim and dilute it a bit, you would get Blue Teal, but it's very comparable to Franklin Christoph Spanish Blue. Very comparable. Spanish Blue is a tad more blue than the Pacific Ocean Teal is a little bit more green, but they're very close. Very close. So yeah, this is the one ink I didn't buy from Sunny. This is my 6th bottle ink. I didn't go there intending to get this show ink because I have a bottle of Spanish Blue already. But door prize? Sure, I'll take it. Who knows? Maybe I'll eventually end up giving it away or something because I already have the Spanish Blue. But, you know, hey. Yeah, and so... Oh, also on Saturday, I got a copy of Plumbago. Okay, the sun decided to go away. That's fun. It's dark now. Cool. So, copy of Plumbago I got from Andy. Andy also, while I was sitting there at PIF, brought this magic box of pencils. And when I say magic box of pencils, I mean like it was rather ridiculous. So, like giant box of pencils. And it was all like cheap Indian pencils that were fun colors with excellent cores. Like they weren't like Blackwing quality, but they're like solid. And that he has a couple coworkers that will commute from India back and forth occasionally because their family's there. And so apparently these things go for like $1 for a box of dozen. So it's like 10 cents a pencil. And it was just amazing. It was like, oh, fun pencil box of magic. So that was fun. And then so I got a Plumbago. Fun fact, so these envelopes that they come in are actually the same as Butcher Orange. If you're a Field Notes fan, it's just a little different. It's a different weight of cardstock. But yeah, Andy was able to source that. So I'm looking forward to that. Saturday night was after the mixer. A bunch of us went to an Indo-Chinese restaurant. That was a lot of fun. So that was delicious. Burned my mouth a little bit, but, I picked something that had a hot chili pepper next to it. I didn't get the devil's chicken, which had 3 hot chili peppers and needed to sign a waiver for. Did not get that. Took a picture of it, though. So that was good. They had these sake flights, which that was delicious. Jim and I split one of those. And then we got back, went to the bar, and, no, we didn't go to the bar because that was the night there was live music. That's right. So there was live music. The music was rather loud, but there was a cash bar in the live music area. It was like in a different ballroom next to, kind of adjacent to the main show area. And so by the time we got back, everyone that had just stayed and eaten dinner at the hotel was getting pretty sloshed already. So people were pretty drunk. Scott Franklin of Franklin Christoph was like gone. Yeah, and people were real shit-faced. But then we didn't really hang out in the bar. We just sort of moved towards the show area. And we just put in the front room. So where the show was arranged, there was a front entrance room with tables. There was a little side room and then the big ballroom in that front entrance room. We just camped out there, and people had bottles of whiskey, bottles of brandy, bottles of scotch. At some point, people, apparently Jason, Ostrich Jason, who I learned was Ostrich Jason that night at 3 a.m., despite having talking to him for 3 days, 3 nights in a row. I'm like, oh, you're Ostrich Jason. Had a bunch of beer. I brought down my drinking horn. So yeah, people got real shit-faced. It was delicious. We started a secret forehead sticker society. Someone, I think it was Logan, had this marker thing that he loaded up with, Noodlers I think has a dry erase blue. So it was basically a dry erase marker with fountain pen ink. And so I handed it to Jessie at one point to show her it, and she decides, this is great. I'm now going to paint people's faces with blue ink. So that happened. Someone has video of it. I did not. I just took selfies, but Ralph started it by handed it to him, and he put it on his face because, that's his brand. But then Jessie was like, I'm going to paint everybody. And so then at one point, Ralph and Jessie were standing there just handing the thing back and forth and painting each other's faces blue. Yeah, Jessie was real shit-faced. It was funny as hell, but there was a lot of ducking to be oh no, don't paint me blue. Don't paint me blue. Luckily the stuff washed out really well. Otherwise everyone would have been blue for several days. So yeah, that was fun. That was hilarious. Lots of shenanigans were had. That was the main thing though, was if you've ever seen Arrested Development, where in, I think, season 2, Tobias is just trying to join Blue Man Group. It's just I blew myself. That was Jessie on Saturday night. Sunday, I didn't really hit up the show that much because I went to bed at 3 a.m. Pacific time, which is 6 a.m. my time. I had been running on 4 less hours of sleep for the past several days. And also I was rooming with Tommy. I don't think she's an ever nude, but I do not know. But I was rooming with Tommy, and Tommy, is appreciate it. He snores like a freight train, so it was very hard to sleep. And my body was just nope, you are going to turn off your alarm and then continue sleeping. So I went to bed at 3 a.m. and woke up at 3 p.m. So I missed most of the show on Sunday. And then also I missed a trip into SF proper that Jim and other people went to the Peak Design flagship store in downtown San Francisco. They had a good time there. I wanted to go with them just to see actual SF proper rather than just the hotel, which is a little about in the middle of nowhere. And then, so I didn't have an interest in the store, but so I basically woke up, was shit, threw on clothes, stumbled downstairs. Kim had brought all the hobbies Kimberly, I forget, she hates Kim, had just provided food all weekend. Yeah, no, it was just well, I'm my body needed it, but damn. But there was this big jug of peanut butter pretzels, and that was basically I grabbed a bunch of those for breakfast because I was shit. And so I basically did an spent an hour like throwing money at people because there was stuff that I had seen over the course of the weekend that I was like, shit, I want to buy this. That included, I stopped at Jesse's table right away because I had messed with these over the weekend or like on Friday and stuff. Jessie, if you are unaware, is, we call her the Empress of Esterbrook or the Duchess of Esterbrook because she has all the Esterbrookes. I bought an Esterbrook purse pen from her. I've always loved the little pastel purse pens, but at most shows, people will have like one or two of them. They won't have a lot. Jessie, because her thing is Esterbrook, had a whole just like display of them so I could pick one to my heart's desire. She also has this testing station where you could test and dip test all the different Esterbrook nibs to find one that fits you. I've been burned by a couple of different Esterbrook nibs already because I just sort of buy them and then it turns out they're not the greatest for me. So I was really looking forward to her having this testing station. And I was able to figure out that what I wanted was the manifold nibs, which are really rigid nails, but I think are like, they're slightly different ground. So the regular nibs will be a little bit scratchy. I think these have more of a tipping material or something on them. But whatever it is, they fit me real well. So I have a 1461 on here in this tiny like peach pocket pen. And it's adorable. Yeah, it's a lever filler. All Esterbrooks are lever fillers. They're with sacks, but they're super easy. It's like not intimidating at all. They're workhorses. They're tanks, really. They're great intro vintage pen. I think... Hey, thanks, Alex. In case you're wondering what these things are dropping down into the jar, those are lumberries because I'm a Pokemon nerd, if you couldn't tell from the Umbreon costume. So, yeah, they're all lever fillers, but they're workhorses. They might be I think they're a little bit of a bitch to get outside of the US. But, if you're interested, I know Jessie ships internationally. I do that all the time. I'm like, how was I not following you? I think Jessie ships internationally, and you would be able to chat with her to kind of figure out what your preferences are in terms of like what nib you should go with. I've also talked with her, and I know she's willing to basically send you a couple different nibs to try with your pen, and then you mail the ones you decided against back to her. That might be prohibitively expensive for anyone international, but the boxes for the nibs are fairly tiny, so that postage might work out to like not be terrible. It all depends. Yeah, no, lever filling is fine. So all you need to do is, I'm not going to demonstrate on this one because it's inked. Do I have any other lever fillers around that I can demo? No. Okay, so lever filler, you just stick it in, or you do the lever, stick it in the ink, undo the lever. Don't take it out right away. Give it a little bit of time to suck up. Do that a couple times, but remember, don't remove it right away. Just give it a little bit of time to suck up the ink, and it's fine. If you haven't tested that vintage nib for like how well it works, it might need to get resacked. I have no idea what the condition you bought it in is. Just try pulling the lever a little bit. If it easily depresses and the mechanism is fine, then you can go ahead and ink that. If there's any sort of hesitation, or it feels crunchy, or it feels like gummy, that needs to be resacked. So learn how to resack something, or find someone that'll do resacking somewhere in the EU. I know there's a couple different people that do restorations and stuff. I had a list at one point because I was helping someone find Euro nib restoration. But yeah, so that's an option for you. The other thing I bought from Jessie, if you have been on Slack, you saw her post this. It's this little guy. So on this end, it is a mechanical pencil. So it's a mechanical pencil. That's a twist out. And on the other side is a little itty bitty fountain pen. Again, tiny. It's a nail. It's fine. So I love it. It's a little itty bitty pocket pen, which also fits me. It's gorgeous. I asked her to bring them to the show so I could see them in person, since I knew I was going to see her, and had a feeling that they were much prettier in person than the picture she posted, like they wouldn't translate, and that was correct. I basically picked this up on Friday, and she was like, I have a feeling you're going to buy that. And I was like, me too, but then I didn't buy it on Sunday, because that's my MO. I just touch it a million times and then come back and hope it's still there. Or alternatively hope it's not still there so I don't have to spend the money on it. I've done that before where I like want too many things and so purposely wait till Sunday and then buy what's not sold out. It's also backfired against me where I'm like, damn, I actually had settled on that ink, and then I go and order it from Van Ness online. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, love these two that I got from Jessie. I also bought some more inks from Sunny. Like I said earlier, their setup was really confusing in terms of what ink they had in stock and what they didn't. So what I did was just, I was just like, I asked, okay, did you bring these? And they're like, yeah, okay, we have them back behind the table. So I looked through the swatches and picked out a couple. I basically wanted one of each brand. So this one, you can't see the label anymore because like I said, there was an ink accident. But it's a Chinese ink. It just has Chinese in the label. This is 24 solar terms. These, I think, are either new or don't get around a lot because I Googled these furiously trying to find swatches. I could find some swatches of the Ancient Charm song and the Starry. Nothing from this. So this is Summer Solstice. It's like a minty, tealish thing. It's very much a minty ink. The letters have a nice crispness to them. It's almost like a halo. It's super pretty. Again, normally not a color I'd buy. I normally am not for this color, but just my eyes kept getting drawn back to that swatch. Also, the things that like I default go for, I already have a bazillion inks of those colors, so I was trying to flesh out my ink collection so with a different variety of inks. Let's see which one this matches up best to. Berg. So yeah, I would actually put this in a similar category. No, yeah, this ink flows really well. It's really behaved as both Emerald Chivor and Diamine Steel Blue, but this is a just very much lighter version of it. So think of like the palest parts if you're like water brushing Emerald Chivor or Diamine Steel Blue, those light parts, but just as a full ink without the shimmer or the sheen. But it's just so nice and crisp. So yeah, this I think also, it does remind, I've seen swatches of Diablo Menthe from Girbon, but I haven't tried it. But yeah, this is, I would think similar, but this is really well behaved. And fairly cheap too. I think the bottle was like maybe $12. Oh crap, I was going to put that in there. I love Diamine Steel Blue. I think it gets slept on because it's similar-ish to Diamine Marine, and Diamine Marine gets a lot of play because it's one of Brian Goulet's favorites, but I actually prefer Steel Blue. Slept on ink. Go get some. And then the other one I bought from Sunny to complete the Chinese ink trio is an Ancient Charm or Song, which the boxes on these are hilarious because it's bad Google Translate. So these are the small bottles, but it's small endowment ink is what it says on it, which is just fucking hilarious given how pen stuff is already super phallic if you have a dirty enough mind, and then it's just like small endowment, he he he, and it's just like terrible translation. It's really funny. So this is small endowment. Oh, the 24 solar term was this was 24 solar terms summer solstice. Eventually I'm gonna have I'm working on doing reviews of all these now, and I had a little bit of a bumper because I knew I was going to be exhausted after after SF, so I had some bumper, but like, so these will start posting in about like a week and a half, 2 weeks from now. So this is the Ancient Charm ink. This is another shimmer ink because I learned from Sunny that shimmer inks are so popular in China. Like the Chinese ink brands are majority shimmer. Like it's harder to find non-shimmer inks in China from the Chinese brands than shimmer inks. And they also sell shimmer, just like straight up shimmer that you can add to your own inks. That Sunny actually brought some of that shimmer powder. It looked real sketch. He didn't label it. It was just in unlabeled vials of like mystery powders sitting in baggies on the table. And I'm like, well, this is how you get drug searched at the airport. Especially if, I don't know, Daryl couldn't take those in his bags because already his bags filled with notebooks like that look like bricks of suspicious things. We were making fun of Daryl because then he had a money pouch just full of all cash. So it's like, oh, you came into the country with suitcases full of things that look like suspicious bricks under an x-ray, and then you're leaving with a lot less of them and a bag full of cash. I'm amazed Daryl doesn't have more customs problems. But yeah, so this is an olive green with gold shimmer. So it's very similar to Alt Gold Grun, but with gold shimmer, it's a little more green. Let me see. It's gonna look very similar to Alt Gold Grun. Yeah. Yeah, so it's right in there with, so very similar to Alt Gold Grun. Alt Gold Grun's a little more yellow, slightly, and then Colorverse Brain is, I think one of the tiny bottles that Colorverse has, and this also has shimmer, but it has silver shimmer, but again, you can only get it by buying the combo pack with string. I don't have Diamine Safari, I'm sorry. I have a lot of inks and samples, but I don't have that one. But yeah, so basically if you wanted to get that Colorverse 2-pack from Season 3 for the shimmer olive color, get you some Ancient Charm South Village. Because one, the shimmer shows up a lot better, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Again, I think this was like $12 or something for the 15 milliliter bottle. So it's the same amount of ink that you get with Colorverse, except you're not getting a whole extra bottle with it. So this is actually probably comparable in price per mil, but you're actually getting only the ink you want instead of having to buy the 2-pack just to get the little bottle. And the shimmer is probably going to behave better because Chinese inks shimmer tends to use much finer particles than the European shimmer inks. So it just flows really well and just works a lot better in more pens. Yeah, Pen BBS. I have one Pen BBS that is a brown with a blue shimmer in it. That works really well, flows really well. The Girbon ones have always worked well for me. The Diamine ones are a lot more temperamental. Those have always been the least well behaved for me. Haven't tried any of the Diatramentis ones though. So yeah, I love olive green. Like really, the only reason I didn't end up with this ink is because I was like, I can't justify spending the $36 basically to get this ink. I wasn't a fan of the other color in the pairing that was the bigger bottle. But I'm glad I got the sample. So yeah, those were all my inks that I got. I got six inks. It's a little dumb. I got a lot of ink. I knew I had a free checked bag going to SF because I flew American and I get a free checked bag with American Airlines with my rewards and stuff because I'm a frequent flyer, have their credit card, etc. I have a lot of frequent flyer miles built up with American because I used to live in Miami and Miami is their hub and I would just fly them all the time. I try and they always treat me well. I've always had my best experiences on American. It's also nice to fly American in the Atlanta airport because American has their own little like sequestered baggage claim area that is just, you don't have to deal with the nutsiness of the main baggage claim area. It's just so nice. Like I've always had good experiences with American. I know every airline's different for other people, but I heavily endorse American. I avoid flying Southwest now because every single time I've flown Southwest, I've either had a major flight delay, and when I say major, I mean like 6 hours, or they've lost a bag. I have never had a flight with Southwest that I haven't had issues. Works well for other people, not so much for me. Isn't Lamy Safari one of the anniversary ones? It's like one of the triangle wedge inks. I have Monteverdi Olivine. And so I can show that to you. So Monteverdi Olivine is a lot darker. It's a very pretty color, but it's a lot darker. olivine is much closer to like Epinard, which I have a bottle of Epinard. Yeah, this category of like yellowy olivey greens is like my favorite. Also see why I am going to buy that Pelican M205. Also why I want a tortie, because a tortie is the same color, that shade. Yeah. Last thing I got was Sunday night. We were just hanging around the show area, and then Pam brought out a case. I went over to look at her case because the case looked awesome, but she had these pens in there that she was just like, yeah, I just want to get rid of these. So Pam is Send the Little One on Instagram. She's Pam from Hand Over That Pen. So she had these and she was like, I just want these gone because I don't know what to do with them. They just confuse me. I have them, but I want them out of my life. Happy home. I didn't really want to put them on the PIF table because they are worth something. And so I was like, I dip tested this. I was like, that looks skinny and weird and I want to try it. It looks up my alley. Dip tested it, loved it. Couldn't figure out how to fill it. So looking at this, how would you think it would fill? This part was stuck. So we're like, I don't know, maybe it was supposed to be this part, but someone shellacked it. But then someone else, actually Chris Cox, I'll talk about him a little bit later, just gently eased it out. And so it's this little bulb filler thing. And so I went from being like, I want it. Never mind, I don't want it because I can't figure out how to fill it. Okay, I want it now. So now I have it. I need to like DM her, be like, how much do you want for it? Because we were all just too exhausted to think about pricing things. But so it's mine now. It's actually a Wall Eversharp. That was the other thing. I was just like, what is this? So I handed it to someone at the bar and they were like, okay, it's an Eversharp. We can tell that from the band, but I don't know what type of Eversharp. The threads on both ends need cleaning. Because they were a little stuck, especially this end. There's some rust there that I need to clean up. I need to look that up, what is best, because I know how to take care of this on like bikes and stuff, but I don't know if like the stuff I would use to lubricate a bike would be the best for a nib or like a pen or like a vintage pen. And it doesn't screw on terribly tightly, so I want to see if I can mess with that. But Pam's pretty sure she bought this from Nick at one point, because Nick is king of, I have the weirdest vintage pens ever. Like, Nick is friendly enough with all the other vintage vendors that he can go up to them and be like, what's the weirdest shit you got this time? And they'll pull it out and they'll be like, here. And then Nick buys it. Because, like, you can't always do that with vintage vendors. Some of them you have to build a level of trust before you can, like, ask for, like, the behind-the-counter things. But Nick is that person. He just acquires all this weird shit. And if you become friends with Nick at a pen show, he will not only pull out all his weird shit for you, but if you're sitting with him at the bar, he's just, like, doing his calligraphy thing, and then he'll just, like, start handing you weird pens. Like, he'll ask you a couple questions and then just start handing you weird stuff, which is great. I feel bad because I have yet to buy something from Nick. I need to get that ridiculous, he has this ridiculous Fantasy Parker 51 that's bright yellow with a blue cap that's just, like, dumb. And, like, it's stupid. And I picked up the show, and because I was like, this is great. And he was like, everyone picks up that pen because it's obnoxious and no one buys it. I've been trying to get rid of it. And it was like, at the end of the show, it's still there. So I might at some point just be like, hey, Nick, that weird 51, I would like to buy it off of you. I might ask him to swap nibs on it. But yeah. It's probably, let me see if I can get a picture of it, because he posted it on his Instagram at some point. Because it's ridiculous. No, okay, not his, Nick has too many Instagrams. Because he got it forever ago. Like, I was going to look at it at the Triangle show, but then I just didn't make it. Because it's not advisable to drive for 6 hours when you have 102-degree fever. Scrolling. Here it is. So that bright ass yellow one, I want it because it's ridiculous. It's even more ridiculous looking in person, and I kind of just want it. But yeah, I need to see what nib he has on it. And at some point, after every pen show, I've found there's like 2 weeks after the pen show, you do an internet buying spree of all the things that have been percolating in your head from the pen show. And then you buy everything you can online. So that's probably going to be part of it for me. Maybe some ink from Van Ness, but maybe not. Probably something from Rickshaw, because Rickshaw Bagworks were there and I saw some of their fabrics in person. And some of those really don't come across online. Like, there's so much more depth to them in person that I'm like, damn. Yeah, people tend to pick up the yellow one, he says, just because it's bright yellow with a blue cap. Your eye gets drawn to it right away on his table. You can't miss it. So people pick it up because they're just like, what the fuck is this? Sorry. I've been talking for like 2 hours straight, so my mouth is very dry. But yeah. Then Sunday night, made over to the bar. That was really fun. One of the people I made friends with. Yep, nope. See, that's also post-pen show, people order things. This was my first time seeing a lot of the Rickshaw pen wraps in person. And it's just, I'm not a huge fan of, they're really long, and I have a lot of pocket pens, and they get swallowed. That's actually why I started making these cases. This is the one that I have for me, but the point is so I can put a pocket pen in there, and it's not swallowed. I can get it out easily, and then I can just put the flap over it, and it's protected. But this is also, because it's knit, it's stretchy. I can put like a Lamy 2000 in here, no problem. So I put that in there and just stretch it over, because you don't have to really worry about stressing the fabric, because that's what knit fabric does. And then you have a protected Lamy 2000. But also you're not like digging for your pocket pens. So I have a stack of these. I actually brought a stack of these in different colors and hand spun yarns to San Francisco and then forgot to advertise that I had them. So a lot of people complimented me on my wrap and liked the design, and I forgot to mention, oh, I have them if you want to buy them. So I put a post up of these in the Pen Addict Slack, and I'll probably list them on my Etsy or put an Instagram post or something up if you want to buy any of these. They're $35 each. I've got some like earlier prototypes that are weird that I'm going to do for $30 each. And then also if you want to get anything like extra long, like Ralph ones or super tiny ones, or add more slots or whatever, I'm open to it. The pattern is one I wrote. I have not written up the pattern yet. I intend to. I went through so many prototype iterations. I think this is like version 6 or something before I got all the details down that I was happy with. It's going to be a little bit of a tricky pattern to write, because a lot of it is, the actual base knitting is just a garter stitch square. Let me get a better one to show. Because like even within this pile, there's a couple different versions before I got to one I was happy with. This will show it off. So yeah. So the actual like body is just a long garter stitch square that you fold up and then knit this flap on, and then you seam it together with a single crochet, and then you slip stitch up the columns to make your slots. And then I did these little flaps. You can do them without the flaps if you want, but I like the little flaps because you can make a little pen burrito. Let me show you my little pen burrito. Oh yes, no, hi, welcome. Yeah, no, that's probably, Brad was hosting me. Brad's a friend of mine. I live in Atlanta and we'll just run into him occasionally. Yeah, no, Dalek poster. I'm a nerd. So yeah, welcome. So, if you couldn't tell, I was at the SF Pen Show. I also knit. I'm also very sciencey. So if this is all relevant to your interests, feel free to subscribe if you want, or I guess follow, because that's the word on Twitch. Subscribe is a different thing. Twitch is weird sometimes. But yeah, you can make a little pen burrito out of these. And then, so that's why I do those. And you could also, this is my favorite part. It doesn't work well with more than like 2 or 3 cases, but you can take these and actually daisy chain them together and make like a modular pen wrap. So I'm buttoning. And then you could roll it up into, you can make like a flap. I realized afterwards that you can't really roll it up that well. So like this, I can roll it up and make a burrito and like double button, but like I can't really super burrito it that well. I need to figure out another way to, so you can like really modularly get them together. But like if you want to, you can make like a little pen wrap thing. Yeah. So that I think is fun. I haven't yet, what I would also love to do is figure out a way that I can like link them the other way too. So you could just like have like a giant splay, but I haven't figured out, it took me long enough to get the finish. This looks really simple, right? So like I had the garter stitch knitting is the easy part. Getting the finishing right so everything wasn't all weird and it didn't take forever so I could like work through these efficiently took so long. So many iterations. And getting the sizing right and everything. Like this was way more complicated to design than I expected. Like making highly cabled and lace socks is easier than designing this. Which I've done that. And this was probably about on par with designing with the sweater I designed. Like, not quite with the test knitting, because that's going to be easy, but like, in terms of figuring out the initial design, on par with sweater, which is ridiculous. But yeah, so that's my entire haul. Oh yeah, another thing I'm going to be buying later is Tachia, however you pronounce it. They had some inks that looked interesting, but they also had these really cool notebooks that I messed with on Friday. And then in my whirlwind of throwing credit cards at people on Sunday, I completely forgot about them. Like, I walked past their table. I made a note. Okay, I'm good on inks. I don't need to buy the inks. Forgot about the notebooks. So probably going to order notebooks from them. Those were cool Japanese notebooks. Yeah, probably going to buy some rickshaw things. I might have regrets and like buy more of Sunny inks. Cause, like Yuan has those locally that I can buy shipped. Yeah. And then rickshaw, like I said, they're Earl Grey tweed, which is like a gray with a pale blue. Looks kind of muddied online, but it's super pretty in person. So there's probably going to be a bag purchase in there somewhere. Oh, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was, I tweeted about this a little bit, but I made fast friends with, the octopus stuff that Mark had at Rickshaw was so tempting. He had like a pouch with octopuses on them. That was real tempting. That I almost bought. That might also be purchased. Because those were super cool. He has a thing for octopi. Like, he even had like little plush octopi there. Oh, he also brought samples of his like plush liner that he puts in his pens, like just like swatches of fabric, so you could just like go by and pet them on the table. There was a lot of, if you couldn't tell from me, drive buying of everyone that had like something that you could pet that had fabric or something involved. I petted it many times because of course you do. Oh, and there was also this one table that had like paper samples of like weird Japanese papers. And like they had sample packs to try them all. And I was going to go back and buy some of those. And I completely forgot. I was going to buy some Blackstone ink from Lemur. This is what happens when you work all day Saturday at the table and then oversleep on Sunday and just throw credit cards at people. Because if I had woken up at a reasonable time on Sunday, I would have had time to walk the show and remember that I was going to buy all these things. Of course, my wallet probably loves me. But yeah, cool person that I met at SF was, his name is Chris Cox. I met him at the... Sunny has these mixing ink lines. That's what Shitty Sepia and Poor Man's Sapphire are part of that. Where you can, like, they're designed for mixing. He turns out to be a color scientist, so he bought little bottles of, or samples of each of those straight mixing inks, and he plans on putting them through the ringer, like spectrophotometer ringer, like doing color science to them, figuring out the chromatography and like UV spectra, infrared spectra, all the different aspects to these inks. And then I don't know if he's going to blog post publish them or publish them academically or both. And then the goal with that is he wants to use that to see then if he can use that information to reverse engineer different inks. He's going to try it with random mixes first, and then he's going to see if he can reverse engineer a lot of the old vintage inks with significantly less carcinogenic and otherwise toxic dyes. Because he's literally a color scientist professional. I found out on Sunday, that he actually was the color scientist on Adobe Photoshop for the last 20 years, basically up until 2 years ago, and was the project lead on Adobe Photoshop, again, up until 2 years ago, when apparently Adobe's internals, in terms of Photoshop, that department, is a fucking shit show. It's like a toxic workplace from hell. So he got out of there. And so now he's doing consulting work, but also color scientist, color theory. He's like easing into retirement a little bit. He's in his 50s. And so I think he's also doing this as a little bit of advertisement. Like if he puts this stuff out there and like any of the ink companies want to like hire him or like hire him as a consultant to do color analysis. Cause he can tell just from like looking at the color lines coming out that like, he's like, I know which ones have like what level of research going on in the back cause professional. But so he's really cool. I talked to him a bunch because I'm also science and so could relate with a lot of things. I've done some spectrophotometry as applied to chemical oceanography because that's how you tell to analyze like how much of like a compound is in like a water sample. You add things that react with it and turn it a certain color, and how much of a color it turns, you have to measure it with a spectrophotometer, and that you then do math and it tells you how much the thing is in there. So we could relate and it was a lot of fun. Oh, I have samples of the mixing ink, not samples, but like swabs of the mixing inks I can show you. So these are all the mixing inks. And then what you could do, they had stations where you could mess with them and make your own mixes and then write down a recipe and bring it up to one of Sunny's people, and he would make you a bottle of your own custom mixed ink right there from their mixing inks. It was really cool. I didn't take advantage because I don't have a color I've really been like trying to hunt down forever. So I wasn't like, it wasn't super appealing to me to do that. I was like, I'd rather buy from different brands and stuff like that. I already got my shitty sepia and poor man's sapphire. But then there was also, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, the ink testing stations. I'm sure you've seen pictures of these online and on Instagram. Other pen shows I've been to have had 1 or 2 of those trays set up. San Francisco had 15. There were 5 different tables set up with 3 ink testing stations each. Each station had 49 inks in it. It was a shit ton. So I triaged and went around to prioritized the ones that had a lot of the weird Japanese inks or otherwise expensive inks that even getting a sample of is basically the equivalent of buying another bottle of ink. So I've got a lot of like Sailor Kingdom Note, Kobe's, Colorverse, Bungbox, Sailor Marzens, also brands that I've never seen before. So just a sample. So yeah, I've just got, normally at pen shows, I'll get pages of these, but I've got like, so I've just got page after page after page of just testing these ink samples. It was ridiculous. Apparently my face is really funny because those trays were what Franz was dropping off when he picked me up from the airport. So I saw 2 in his backseat and I thought that was it because that's what I'm used to. And then I'm also deprived of sleep. So then when they start pulling like tray after tray after tray out of the trunk, apparently my face was hilarious because I was like, what's going on? But yeah, so San Francisco on the whole was a fantastic show. Probably one of the most fun shows I've been to because, one, the crowd skewed younger and more diverse, but also quirkier. So I didn't really stand out as much as in my Umbreon onesie as I thought I would, or in my flower crown as I thought I would. There was lots of people with colored hair, people that wore steampunk sort of just casually, because casual steampunk was their style. There was one person I hung out with Saturday night that was basically stopping on the pen show on his way to Burning Man. I'm like, cool. So, and even like the older crowd there of people that attend were a lot more quirky, and because this is San Francisco. So that's more my speed, my crowd that I tend to like to hang around with. This is much more of a the type of people you would get at a fan con. Also, I enjoyed the vendors because you had a lot of the East Asian vendors that that don't make it to other shows. They might make it to LA, but that's the only other show because it's hard for them to get to. But then LA is a shit show. So this was a lot of fun. It was really well organized. They actually had a big schedule posted. You could pay online ahead of time. They had lots of programming other than just shopping. So there were classes all day, every day. There were a bunch of different seminars that you could attend for free. There was more to do than just shopping. They had the pen dash, they had the auction, they had the live music. So there was lots of things to do after hours that didn't cost extra money. And it was just all going. So it wasn't like, oh, you went to dinner and all of a sudden you missed the thing. Like there was stuff going on pretty constantly. There was something for everybody. There's a lot of learning experiences. And so it was very friendly towards new people. And even if you're experienced and wanting to get into it, getting into new things, there was a lot of people there to help you, that wanted to help you. It was very friendly, very welcoming. The only real knock I can give that I would give the SF show is that the hotel is in the middle of nowhere. It's in this corporate park. So Oracle, as in the people that make Java, is around the corner, and you could see the Oracle yacht in the bay, and Nintendo of America's around the corner, and EA's around the corner, and these big biotech companies. But then these hotels are all in this campus, basically for people to stay at that are visiting these industrial places. And so while technically there is a train station only a 1.5 mile walk away, and there's a downtown or a strip of restaurants and everything only a 1.5 mile walk away, to get there you have to walk along very unfriendly roads. You could probably bike them, but the hotel doesn't have bikes to rent at all, which, I mean, it's San Francisco. I assumed it might be possible. But, so it was just hard to get to if you don't have a car. Like I said, the hotel shuttle was basically non-existent. When I went back on Monday morning, I just didn't bother with the hotel shuttle. I just got a Lyft. It cost me $20 and took me probably a fraction of the time that it would have taken the hotel shuttle. If I understand probably why it's there, because it's probably has the friendliest rental rates, because the Bay Area isn't cheap. And most pen shows are in the middle of nowhere a bit. But I was a little disappointed that I was literally on the West Coast and next to San Francisco, but it would have taken me an hour each way to get into San Francisco proper. So I didn't actually really see SF proper, except from the air while taking off. Because when I landed, it was dark. I didn't see anything. So that's my one regret. If I were to go again, I would probably try and stay longer, or Airbnb closer, or rent a car, or I actually have a lot of friends in San Francisco. So it was, and so more couch surf or something, or some way I could actually see SF proper, because to fly all the way across the country and then not really see anything was a little bit disappointing. But, hey, that's how life goes. But yeah, if there's anything else you want me to talk about or want to see, or in general, feel free to ask. But other than that, I've been talking for 1.5 hours or 2.5 hours. My throat is very dry. Hope you all have enjoyed this. I'm going to take a drink and give you all a chance to furiously type if you want to type. I just splashed water in my face. But yeah, no, it was a ton of fun. I would definitely consider going again if I have, again, an opportunity for a flight that cheap. But I also do want to try and maximize the different varieties of pen shows I go to see different people. That's why I opted for this show over DC, because I went to Baltimore earlier this year, so I'm going to see a lot of the same people I saw at Baltimore at DC, versus West Coast show, entirely different crowd of people. I got to meet so many people that I knew online or had heard of, and just actually got to meet. I got to meet Lay Reyes. I got to meet just all these people that I've haven't seen, like I've talked to online, I got to meet one of my podcast co-hosts for the first time in person, and it was amazing. So yeah. Yeah, glad you can join us, JD Lady. Glad you found the channel, but yeah, no, this is my stand-in because Brad did not make it to the show. And yeah, so hope you enjoyed. Mike from Independence will probably be talking about this tomorrow on his live stream. So if you want some more of this from his perspective, he was working in the Franklin Christoph booth. And so he does live streams on his YouTube channel, Independence, at 4 o'clock on Fridays. So you can tune in there. But otherwise, thank you for joining me. Glad you guys had enjoyed this, even though I've basically been talking for 2.5 hours, but people enjoy that. If you want pen wraps, hit me up, because I have a bunch of them. And also, if you want samples of some of these things, I feel free, especially the show ink. The Chinese inks are a little smaller bottles, but yeah, just hit me up. So yeah, bye. Off button.